All right. And today I'm here with the one and only, the newly appointed Indonesian Ambassador to Slovakia, His Excellency Dr. Pribadi Sutiono. Hello, His Excellency.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yes.
It's my honor
It is indeed
have you here.
Actually, it's my honor, actually. The honor is mine, not yours.
All the pleasure is mine. Thank you for coming, His Excellency. So, I have some questions. Of course, I will
Yeah,
ask
of course,
you
yes.
questions. How was the swearing-in ceremony yesterday? Is there any specific message that President Jokowi?
Well, this swearing-in ceremony is very smooth, and it's nice. Actually, it's the first time for me as well, right? But it's very serene. What you call it? Sadu, and then it's very nice. And actually, he didn't
Even
say
in the this is during pandemic, so everyone have to keep the social distancing and all that. Yeah.
But surprisingly, that the spouse can be there as well.
Right.
Because before it's only the ambassadors can attend
During the pandemic, right?
Yes, during the pandemic. But now it's good. It means
so it back to like it used to be.
Yes.
How about the children?
No.
Oh, okay, the spouse. Yeah, okay,
so
yeah.
It's not yet from the original Yan.
Yeah.
Okay. But he didn't mention anything specifically on what is our duty as an ambassador. But many times, President is always mentioned that 70% of our diplomacy is about economy. So I think the focus still in the economy and how we deal with this pandemic. The pandemic is not over yet. That's why I think our foreign minister is still doing the best one to have more and more vaccines from outside.
Correct.
And also we would like to have a kind of a multilateralism of how to deal with the pandemic. We don't want to have a single country just for them and then not care about the other countries.
Correct.
on this combating this pandemic. I think that two issues is the main duty of our ambassador post now.
I see.
Yeah.
So you will be the marketing guy for Indonesia also.
Well, as before, I mean, as before, I think my personal goal is how to put Indonesia in the radar screen.
Correct. Yes.
Sometimes, if you see something in the radar screen, it's always beeping, right? When it's beeping, you still there, and you are there, right? So I think that's So I would like to make it how Indonesia is beeping in the radar screen of the Slovakian and the European Union.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. As a career member of the Senior Foreign Service, you've done so many assignments and tours of duty. And you also serve several positions at the Foreign Ministry,
Yes.
and as well as the coordinating ministry for
Political.
legal, and
Security
affairs.
Yes.
So I just want to know the journey. Could you tell us about the journey as an Indonesian diplomat?
Well, the journey is we start with the school, what we call it a basic diplomatic school. But after that, I've been assigned to Tokyo for 3.5 years, and after
When was
that?
It's
too long ago, to be frank.
Two decades ago?
No, it's 1994, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and then.
So that was your first post, yeah?
That was my first post, and then after that I returned to Jakarta, and then I took my PhD in New Zealand, in Wellington, and returned that 6 months after I returned from New Zealand. I've been posted to London.
Wow.
For 4 years as a counselor for information and public diplomacy in London. And then upon my return from London, I took a post as the ADs of the minister at we call it the Bureau of the Minister.
That was during
Pak Marty.
Marty Natal
Yeah, Pak Marty Natal Gawas. And then I moved to the Public Diplomacy Directorate as acting director and doing the public diplomacy. And then after that, I went to become the director for senior diplomatic course.
Yes,
Yes,
we call it Sesparlu.
Sesparlu,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
3 years there, and then I've been posted to Brunei Darussalam
I see.
as a deputy chief of mission.
Right. Where I met you there, I interviewed
Yes,
you.
yes.
Okay, that's
And
good.
then back from Brunei, I took the challenge to move to another what you call it department, which is the coordinating Ministry of Political and Legal and Security Affairs. My intention is how I can deal with a more broader issues, political and security issues, rather than just diplomacy. It doesn't mean that the diplomacy is not important, but it is important. But I know, because I understand that foreign policy or diplomacy is the extension of internal policy or domestic policy. So I would like to know more about the domestic policies, and then how I can portray that one into the foreign policy. So I joined Kemenko Polhukam, or Coordinating Ministry for Political, Legal and Security Affairs, as Assistant Deputy for Asia and Pacific issues.
I see.
Very long journey.
So being a diplomat, is it your aspiration since you were a kid, or
Wow,
it's an accident?
No. Actually, my late mother was also joined what we call it at that time is Susdubat, Kursus Duta Besar.
Oh, I see.
But she had to quit because married to my father, who was an army doctor.
Yeah.
And then since, I don't know, maybe I've been brainwashed by mom, maybe, I don't know. Because you should join the foreign affairs, you should join the foreign ministry. And, specifically, you have to become a Duta Engge.
What is Duta Engge?
Ambassador for England.
Oh!
It's a word for the kids. And that's why I have an obsession to join the foreign ministry. But I also do kind of a trick. I choose my bachelor degree not in political science, not in international relations, but I choose as a what you call it in sastra, the literature,
yeah.
yes, a Chinese literature.
Chinese literature.
Simply because 2 reasons. One, there's not so many people in Indonesia can speak Mandarin at the time. So I have a plus to join the foreign ministry. And secondly, because I read Koping Ho too many.
Yeah.
So I was so inspired by the Koping Ho at that time, and then it's
that was
beautiful.
popular
and
at that time. Yeah.
Yes. So my age maybe because of that.
Okay. So you speak Chinese, French, English, Hebrew.
A little bit, yes.
I
don't know, maybe Javanese.
Japanese, Sundanese, Manadonese.
No, not Manadonese.
All the dialects in Indonesia. And I'm aware that you are also invited by some universities to teach the students, the university students,
yes.
yeah? And what do you tell your audience or the students about the role of a diplomat that is very dynamic? What sort of skills that a diplomat must have, Pak?
Well, Speaking of that, I think the first that you have to have is you have a broader knowledge. You should enjoy reading. Otherwise, reading, what I meant reading is reading a book, reading a newspaper, not reading a gadget.
Right.
Because it's very simple.
All kind of
publications, articles,
yeah.
and read, and then I think by that you will have a broader knowledge. And secondly is you need to have a good network. So you have to become a more open, extrovert person rather than introvert, because your duty is to speak. Your duty is to know people, to speak, to convince people, right? On your foreign policy, for example, on your policy, on any policy. So that's also one of the reasons why I joined the coordinating ministry, because I know that the coordinating ministry has at least in my ministry at least there are 14 department or ministerial under the coordinator. So I know a lot of people there. So it means that I will know a lot of issues. So we can be used as a part of the diplomacy. Yes. So that's I think two things. You like to read and you like to socialize, you like to network. Otherwise you become a kind of I don't know in English, diplomat kebatinan ya. So you just
you cannot read people's minds.
Exactly. So you just ngebatin, you just you can't do that.
Right.
You have to speak out.
Okay. More or less, it's like journalists, Pak.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
Investigate. We also have to read, and we also have to have good network.
Yeah, I think most of the social sciences or social career should have this at least the two two issues, two
Right.
things. Yeah.
So what did the students say? Do they still want to become a diplomat after that? After you teach them?
Well, I don't know. I don't do a statistic actually, but
You don't do a survey after
but
that.
I always say that if you do the social sciences, there will be no one in this world will say that you are wrong, because social science is not about right and wrong. Social science is about what you think and how you pronounce it and how you say it and how you convince people and how you defend your your belief on that. So there is no one will say that, oh, you're wrong or you're right. No. The paradigm of the international relation is just a tools, like realist or other paradigm of international. It's just a tools. But social sciences basically they won't be blame or there won't be any right and wrong in that social science. That's my belief.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. But when you were engaging in dialogues or negotiations with your counterparts or maybe international representatives, of course, to protect Indonesia's interests
Yeah.
abroad, maybe your treaties or international agreement. How would you deal with a situation when the negotiation reach a deadlock?
Well, actually, deadlock is a result of the negotiation, right? So you can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But back to your questions, I think what you need is to take a pause, rest, and think about it, something else, and then relaxing, and then if you agree with your counterpart, you can start again. But don't push yourself. That you have to have a result by today or by this time. You have to understand that our negotiation with Vietnam on our maritime boundaries took 32 years. So
32
yeah,
years.
32 years. Even that,
More than 3 decades.
Yeah, even that we are not resolving the issues of the economic zone yet, economic exclusive zone yet. So, but at least there is a result. So if you negotiate something, the MOU or whatever, in a week or two, that's already the best one. But 32 years is long,
Yeah. But I mean, at that time, during the meeting itself, I mean, you have to control yourself.
Yeah.
And
Don't get angry.
Oh my God, I can't be a diplomat then.
That's but that's also the basic things of the journalist, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
So, like I said, when you get the deadlock, just pause yourself, stop it, and then you tell your counterpart, look, I think we have a deadlock. Maybe we have to come back later on, or maybe I have to consult with. The beautiful word is, I'm sorry, we have to stop because I have to consult with my capital. Which is sometimes, yes, you do consult, or sometimes you just relaxing, you know, whatever you can do it, and you think something, and then, yeah, you know.
I'm going to use that sentence. I have to consult with the capital.
Yes,
Okay.
one of the big country, whenever they cannot decide, they always say that, I'm sorry, that's not my
Jurisdiction.
my
or
jurisdiction. I have to consult with my capital. Because sometimes they don't do it. But pause, and then you can come back whenever you agree to come back with a counterpart. Don't push yourself, otherwise you won't get any result.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And where are the hardship posts for Indonesian diplomats? You can have a drink first.
Because you're asking about the hardship post, right?
I'm talking about the living conditions, yeah.
Well, now we have two status, I think. What we call it a dangerous post and a hardship post. In the dangerous post is in Indonesia is post berbahaya, and hardship post is rawan, post rawan. So I think a country like Bangladesh is rawan. But a country like Afghanistan is for sure is dangerous. Where else? North Korea is a dangerous place. But Delhi is a rawan, is a hardship.
Or less, yeah.
Yeah. But they have a different system for the diplomat who being posted there. For example, the dangerous one, they can have about every 3 months they can have a leave if they can. But if you're being posted in North Korea, you cannot go out every 3 months, right? Like in Rawan, you can be maybe 6 months, every 6 months. But both the good things about the family of these two places is that your children's schools is being paid by the government. So that's good whenever they go to school. But if in a normal situation, normal post, it only can be paid for those who study in that place.
I see.
For example, I myself posted in Brunei, for example. My children can be paid for the tuition fee whenever they go to the Brunei school or Brunei university. But in the Rawan and dangerous, they can go anywhere, and then the government still paid for the school.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly it's about the political situation, but also like in Dhaka is about the hygienic situation. Healthcare. Yeah, you know this.
Right. Okay. Is that for Indonesian diplomats or in general?
No,
countries as well?
I think every country has a different
Rules and
regulation, and also different what you call it definition of hardship and.
Correct. Yeah.
For example, like Australia, they regard Brunei as a hardship post, not the dangerous, because they cannot drink from the tap water.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's different, yeah.
Yeah, mostly developing countries, we cannot drink from tap water.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, well, some maybe can, but not all of developing countries. Yeah. I see. And you were born and grew up in Jakarta, right, Pak?
Yes.
Okay.
I was born in here, in Jakarta, grew up in here.
You went to school all the way until university, undergraduate?
Yes, but my elementary school was in Malang, part of it, because my father
East Java,
because my father was a soldier, as a doctor. but he has to move from one city to another. Soldiers,
Right.
military has to move. Maybe that's why I also has to move from one place
But
to
you
another
use
place.
passport. That time you don't need,
No.
you didn't need a passport. Okay. No. I want to ask you. You've been to many places around the world, yeah. But you was born and grew up in Jakarta. From 1 to 10 scale, where do you place Jakarta? Of course, 1 is the best one. 10 is one. Yeah.
I just want to ask you which one is the best one.
The best place is number
Well,
1.
it depends on the criteria. Depends on what is the best. The best for what? The security, or the food, or whatever. It depends. But I think Jakarta should be number 5, or
In terms of?
in terms of the security, keamanan.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it's good. You cannot compare Jakarta with, for example, Tokyo, for example, because actually they also has the Japanese has they believe in karma. So if you do something
like people
wrong,
in Bali.
yes, if you do something wrong, and then
Then you
they
will get it,
yes,
yeah.
only. But in Indonesia, I think in Jakarta is I think 5. If you see that in the newspaper or whatever that said Jakarta is is a very dangerous place, I think it's not entirely true.
It's not entirely true.
No, I mean, look at the diplomats of like Australian or New Zealander or even European countries. They like to be posted in Jakarta,
Right.
because if they don't want to be posted in North Korea, for example, Pyongyang, because they know it's dangerous. But in
The
Jakarta,
consequences,
even Jakarta is also been regarded as a good place for their career as a diplomat.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, but in your heart it's always number 1, right?
Yes.
You better be.
Yes, especially the food.
The food.
You cannot find a vendor in front, walking in the front of your door in Europe, right? Or in Japan, or
yes.
even in Brunei, you cannot do that. But here, I want a baso. Okay, okay, baso, and then suddenly baso is passing by in your
Now
house.
we can even order through online, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Just 1 click away. Everything is 1
Yes.
click away. That's true. Okay. Now, Pa, we want to talk about the Indonesia and Slovakia diplomatic relations. The two countries have established diplomatic relations more than 3 decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And could you tell us briefly the state of bilateral relations between Indonesia and Slovakia and how you see it developing over the coming years?
Some people see that Slovakia is a tiny country, a small, right in the middle of Europe continent. But that's the thing that we should make it as an important country in the middle of the Europe. Slovakia's GDP is one of the highest in Europe, simply because they are prosper more than the other countries. They joined the EU, but also because they are in the middle of Europe, that a lot of developed countries like they move Germany. They move their industry to Slovakia. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are 4 German car companies who moved to Slovakia, like Porsche, like Mercedes, BMW. Even the Korean now, they move it to there, simply because Slovakia is in the middle of Europe. So in terms of transportations, it's very easy, right? And again, the people of Slovakia is like to work. They're very hard workers.
People, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
hardworking people. And that's why we need to make Slovakia as a hub, one of the hub of Indonesia, in dealing with Europe. Just take Germany as an example, right? And how they make it. So I think that's why Slovakia is very important. That's why since the beginning we already have established the diplomatic relations, and from time to time Slovakia is becoming important. Now, if I may, Sally, we have a cooperation with one of the university in Slovakia to develop a wheat. Very interesting, because wheat usually is grow in a cold place.
Yes.
But we would like to develop a wheat that can grow in the climate like Indonesia. We develop it with the Universitas Andalas.
In Padang.
In Padang.
West Sumatra.
Yeah, in West Sumatra, and also with Universitas Hasanuddin in the South Sulawesi. And it's very successful. Yes, and very
so
successful.
we grow the wheat here in Indonesia.
Yeah, yes. And then we developed a new variety of wheat, and then we grow it in Indonesia. In terms of what you call it, medical supplies, we export like glove, mask, and I think a lot of medical equipment also to Slovakia. In terms of what you call it, defense equipment, we have a very good history with Slovakia. Since a long time ago, we used the amphibia tank for the marine, Indonesian marine, and we're still developing that one as well. And now we would like to develop more on many kinds of defense equipment.
But what is the the area of cooperations that Indonesia and Slovakia is strong at?
Now I think we are in economy, as we export a lot of raw materials, like wheat, like nuts, like spices, because Slovakia they want to become a kind of a hub of this kind of spices from the Southeast Asian countries. Well, they would like to replace Netherlands, actually. It's traditionally it's Netherlands. So we export a lot of like that. Coffee is now being developed there, is growing there. We even would like to open, I think, another 2 coffee shops, Indonesian coffee shops in there.
In Bratislava?
In Bratislava. Okay. And we would like to make Slovakia as a hub for exporting coffee to Europe.
Oh.
Yes.
When is that going to be?
It's already starting.
Oh, okay.
And now, hopefully, by next year, we can already export from here to Slovakia.
Slovakia. Okay.
And another one is what you call it, cerutu. What is cerutu in?
Cigar.
Cigar.
Yeah.
A lot of cigar industry in East Java. They aiming Europe to export their product, and I met them, and then I said, why don't you just go from Slovakia, because they are in the middle of Europe, and then we can export to other countries. Because, as I mentioned, that Slovakia is part of EU, right? Once a product is already in one of the EU's countries, I think the regulation will be the same among another 25 or 26 countries. Okay. So this makes it easier.
Okay, I want to be a coffee producer then.
Coffee producer or exporter? Producers.
Producer.
Yes.
Or exporter too.
Yes.
Okay, and what's your plan, Pak Pribadi? The main goals that you would like to achieve in terms of Indonesia-Slovakia ties?
I think one of the questions by a member of the parliament, first commission at the time.
During the fit and proper test.
During the fit and proper test, he actually asked the same question with you. What is your legacy? And I said, the legacy is the economic relations between Indonesia and Slovakia. Now, even we still a little bit surplus, but I would like to double it and maybe triple it. Again, I would like to make the defense equipment industry there probably move here in Indonesia, or at least they will join with Indonesian like Pindad or with Dirgantara, PT Dirgantara or other defense equipment industry in Indonesia. Again, about the wheat, I would like also to develop another kind of maybe variety of agriculture product, because Slovakia is very good in agriculture products. Yes, and for sure is about tourism. I think 15 million of revenue of Slovakia is from tourism. 15 million, 15 million visitors came every year. Yeah, every year too. Well, mostly is for skiing, because Slovakia 80% are hill, mountainous, and especially in the winter time.
You mean the arrivals to Slovakia every year is 15 million?
Besides that, they're also good in the, a spa.
Okay.
So there is no Indonesian spa specialist there. So probably I would like also to extend.
I should open one there. I want to do everything.
Yeah, that's good then.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, so yeah, but mostly in economic.
Economic.
How about the people-to-people contact?
People-to-people contact, for sure, yes. I mean, through the tourism, we would like to also to more promote another Bali, another 10 destination of Bali, like Komodo or Bunaken, whenever. For sure, Bali is still the main target, but as a program of the government, I think another 10 of destination of Bali should be also developed. And I think in Indonesia now the infrastructure for the tourism resort is good. I mean, people already think that, oh yes, if we develop a tourism spot, we need also to develop the infrastructure, which is, I think that's the main point of why we open more and more tourist destination in Indonesia.
So you're going to promote Indonesia and Slovakia, so the people of Slovakia can visit Indonesia after the pandemic, yeah?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, yeah. That's a key point, after the pandemic.
The pandemic is over.
Yes.
Yeah. Any plan to sign new MOUs between the two countries?
In a couple of months, we would like to sign MOU on defense cooperation between the Defense Ministry of Slovakia and Indonesia. I think from that MOU we can, as I mentioned, we can develop more cooperation between the two companies, defense companies. Whether we build it together, we research it together, or we just, Indonesia, what I mean is copy what they have and then we build it here, or we develop together a new kind of defense equipment, something like that.
So they're not going to buy from us, or?
Yes, especially the aeroplane, from the PT Dirgantara.
Okay.
Yes, because Slovakia is very small. They don't need turbojet, especially for the private, or, except for the private. But they need a turboprop plane, for example.
Okay, so you're going to promote Indonesian
industry.
Defense industry in Slovakia. So you're going to.
We are going to invite them to the Indo Defense next year.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
It will be the first time for Slovakia. In Slovakia there are at least 44 defense companies. They're developing from or is many kinds of defense equipment, including the bullets. Even now they're developing a new kind of drone, which is, I think, one of the company in Indonesia is already interested to work together with them to develop it as a drone. But this is not a civilian drone, but not for you to selfie or whatever.
But this is for a military.
It's a military drone,
Okay.
yes, and for the surveying drone as well.
Right. So the government agencies,
Yes,
the
yes,
one
yes.
who will use it, yeah.
Yes, yes. I think the only thing that they probably, because so now we are focusing on that. That's why we would like also to go there as with the PT Dirgantara Indonesia. Probably we can develop something else there in the aeroplane. They are very good people, skillful people on that heavy industries. Yes.
Very good. Okay. Have you been to Slovakia before?
I've been there, but
When was that?
wow, it's a long time ago, and I never think that I will come back there. It was maybe
maybe you wash your face with the water
Probably,
in Slovakia.
probably.
That's the belief, right? If
I know.
you go somewhere
So-
and then you use the water and you must come back.
At that time I was visiting Vienna. Vietnam and
Austria.
Slovakia is they share the
Neighboring.
border. Yeah? They share the border, and then it took only 40 minutes from Vienna to Bratislava. And at the time when I was there, I was invited to visit Bratislava by the then ambassador at the time. Actually, we just visit the border,
Oh,
and
okay.
then we ate the famous food of Slovakian, what do you call it, the geese heart. Very
okay.
nice.
Did you like it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, very nice.
Did you take another round? Indonesian way.
I'm too shy to ask at the time. I'm just a little boy at the time.
Okay. So what's your impression about Slovakia?
I think Slovakia is beautiful countries. The people is very friendly. They maybe because their long history, right? And they're very very open person, and yeah, but they're very 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 friendly, and it's cheap there.
Oh.
It's a good thing.
Do they know about Indonesia? I mean, most people there.
Yes, yes. I think even that strangely there are kind of Indonesian who has take education in Slovakia, but as a missionaries.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now they have around 100 or 102 missionaries studying there. And
Indonesian missionaries.
Indonesian missionaries.
They're going to school.
Study there, and then they come back. And that was the start. How people knows, because they are also a bit religious people in Slovakia.
But moving on to another issue, and I think this is one of your area of interest. In the fight against radicalization and violent extremism, what's your view on the work program on information exchange, capacity building activities, and de-radicalization?
You mean for
It
the
has
Indonesian?
progressed
The Indonesian.
in ASEAN.
In ASEAN. Well, I thought we were going to talk about something, relaxing things. Why are you asking a very, very difficult question? I think we should start with Indonesia first. I think Indonesia is one of the best countries who deal with the terrorism and violent extremism. We have what we call it a National Action Plan on countering terrorism. We have a National Action Plan on violent extremism, and also we have the law on anti-terrorism. Even there we have a law on the protection of witness, for example.
Yes, that's important.
That's I think we are one of the countries that develop according to the human rights principle, according to the international principle of human rights, for example. Indonesia is one of the few countries that usually bring the perpetrators to justice. We are not putting people in the in a detention for
without trial.
We always have a trial, and that even that we only can detain someone less than the British, less than the American, less than the other developed countries. So I think it's only 30 days, but in the UK it's 90 days, for example, and in the United States probably is sometimes indefinite. But start from there. We try to influence the other countries in the ASEAN. So now we developing what we call it the National Action Plan of ASEAN on violent extremism, for example. And I think that's a good thing, because we should start that even that we are struggling with terrorism, but we also have to adhere, we have to hold the principle of human rights. So that's the basic principle that Indonesia is always hold very strongly. So now even the progress is not as fast, as swift as we expected, but there is a development. You never think that in 5 years ago that Indonesia would like, or ASEAN would like to have a national action plan on violent extremism, for example. But now we are developing on that. Indonesia is good also for the peacekeeping operation, for example.
Correct. Yeah.
And then we just last year, last year, if I'm not mistaken, we are the champion of United Nations resolutions on women in the peacekeeping operation. So I think that's a good one. So dealing with between the government and the NGO and the CSO, for example, I think a lot of ASEAN countries also learn from Indonesia. How we, sometimes the governments has negative views on CSO, for example. CSO is a civil society organization. But in Indonesia, we can get along with them. Even if we had what we call the CSO forum on terrorism. Never happened before. But counter-terrorism. It's how we collaborate between the CSO and the government on deal with this, on countering terrorism, especially on the issues of women and children. Because I think the victims mostly are women and children. It's not only the men or all that. So I think we are a good example of for ASEAN on this, and we are pushing the ASEAN also to do same things like what we do.
Okay, but just a follow-up question. Recently, the Malaysia top officials also made a statement that ASEAN should rethink or reevaluate the non-interference in domestic affairs of each member states. I just want to ask you if the member states agreed on this discourse, what would be the implication on the regional bloc?
Well, in my opinion, my personal opinion, I think ASEAN is already changed. I mean, before it's a taboo for us to talk about your neighbors, right? But now sometimes we already criticize the government, even not in the ASEAN summit, for example, or in the ASEAN meetings. But sometimes we talk to our neighbors. Why you handle this situation like this? Sometimes we already open criticizing
behind the doors, of course. Yeah.
I mean, even sometimes our policy has been quoted by news, for example. But yes, in the ASEAN system or in the ASEAN, what you call it, meetings, it's not openly like that. But I think ASEAN is already changed. I think we are not putting, we are not putting everything under the carpet anymore. We are the interference. I think we already interference. Like the issues of the conflict between the Thai and the Cambodia on the temple, the small temple. Even we ask, why don't you solve it? And then if you cannot solve it, we do it. Indonesia at that time, something like that. So we do. I think since I don't know. I'm not saying that this is because of Indonesia change as well in the reformasi, but I think the spirit has already changed. Spirit has already changed.
And you see it's a positive move, yeah. It's good one, yeah.
Yeah, you know, a good neighbor is a neighbor who can say, hey, please put your mango leaf tidy, you know, because it's go to my backyard. It's my, you know, come on, please. Otherwise, maybe the mango is for me, something. Right? But the principle of neighborhood.
Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, Your Excellency, anything that you would like to add on? Perhaps, what do you hope to see in terms of Indonesia and Slovakia bilateral relations, and including the maybe the people-to-people contact?
Well, I think as I mentioned earlier that I would like to put Indonesia in the radar screen of the Slovakian, the government of Slovakia and also the people of Slovakia. So when people say, at least they know, oh, Indonesia. Where's Indonesia? Oh, Indonesia is the third largest democracy in the world. Indonesia, you know, has 260 million inhabitants, for example. Well, Indonesia has more than, you know, islands is more than the entire world, maybe. I don't know, something like that. Simple things. I'm going to use the principle of soft diplomacy rather than just, you know, a diplomacy, high profile diplomacy. I think approaching people is more easier. Coffee diplomacy, something like that, right? Or cigar diplomacy, something like that. Culinary, for sure. Why not? Yeah.
So, what is your plan on your first day once you arrive in Bratislava? What are you planning to do?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet because I cannot work until I present the credential, right? Officially.
Correct. Yes, right? That's right.
So probably, I don't know, maybe I will read a lot more about Slovakia and Slovakian people, you know, I don't know. But I'm so excited to go there, excited to go there, you know. It's, again, it's a tiny country, it's a small country, but it's right in the middle of Europe, that's very, very important in terms of commerce, in terms of economy.
Right.
You know, even in terms of industry. So I think Slovakia is very important. I'm not propaganding Slovakia and Indonesia, but you should start from there.
Right.
Thinking that what is the good things of this country? What is the good things of those people? Or, you know,
and you want to visit the universities and talk to the students there, and you know, give them the ideas what Indonesia is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Anything else that you would like to add on?
Thank you, Ibu Sally. This is indeed a very honored for me to be here.
The pleasure is all mine.
The second day of my, you know,
the newly appointed Indonesia Ambassador to Slovakia, Dr Pribadi Sutiono. So after you met with President of Indonesia and you met us today.
See?
In Kompas.
I don't know whether it's an honor for you or for me. I think it's for me.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best. And
thank you.
Stay in touch.
Will do.
Okay.
Stay
Thank
healthy.
you. Yeah, stay healthy.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.